Hello, hey everyone. So this is Harsh again. I'm like creating this video after a few days. So again, so sorry for that. But I was like preparing something really important for you guys. So that's why it took that long time. But yeah, in today's video, I'm going to share exact system that I myself is using in my day-to-day outreach and day-to-day lead sourcing process. And believe me, once you get this system, it will actually save tons of your time from the operations, from sourcing leads, from verifying those leads and everything. So this is going to be the most crucial system. Plus, at the end of the video, also I'm going to give you one bonus that will basically eliminate all the work from juggling between tools to tools, right? So basically, again, but for that you have to basically watch this entire video till the end, and in the end you will get to know how you can basically get access to that particular bonus, right? Because again, that bonus is alone worth $3,000 or more than that, right? So yeah, now let's focus on this video. Again, in this video, I'm not just going to walk you through the system, but also I'm going to walk you through, let's say if you want to make any systems like this or anything else, how should you approach, how exactly you need to think about creating any sort of automation right before, because let me tell you this, before you create any sort of automation, you have to basically write down all the things that you want in that particular automation, right? All the steps that you need to take in order to create that automation. So again, I'm going to walk you through that first, and then we'll basically move to the system that I already have created. I'll walk you through that. I'll basically show you each particular step that you need in that particular workflow, and then I'll explain you how you can set it up by yourself. So yeah, now let's talk about this. So, again, this system will give you predefined clarity and frees you from overthinking on tools and how to, right? So again, as I said, if you have this system, you don't need to like basically overthink about what tools to use, how to use it, how much will it cost, from where I have to source my data and all of that, right? Because that is a loop. If you start thinking on that line, it will easily take up your 4, 5, 6 hours, because I was like in that particular lane before I have created any sort of a system. I was like, whenever I have to source leads and verify that, I almost spent like 3, 4 hours on that, right? But again, after the system, basically, I don't need to do that. I don't need to think about that. I always, whenever like I have to source the leads and verify that, I always rely on this particular system, right? So if you really want to make your first 5K, 10K from the sales system, you should systemize this and few other operational things that I'll show you in other videos, in my upcoming videos, that right. So again, from now onwards, I'll be creating a series of videos where I'll be sharing my own personal framework and templates that I use in my day-to-day outreach, and I'll be giving you that through this video. So again, that those framework alone worth thousands of dollars, right? Because I've like spent thousands of dollars to get those frameworks. So again, yeah. So now again, this system will set you up apart from others in the game. Why? Because then outreach is all about speed to lead, right? So if you do work with the speed, and you can reach out to this prospect at earliest, your chances of getting response will be maximized, right? So again, you must focus more on things that matter and worry less about operational things like this, right? Of course, like prior to this, there are certain things that you need to be prepared on, like let's say for example, your offer, your positioning, your ICP. You have to have clarity on that, and again, we will cover those in upcoming videos, how to do that. Now, this is the exact roadmap that you need to follow in order to create this system by yourself, if you really want to do that. But again, let me just explain you this very quickly. So again, to create any particular system or automation or workflow, you have to think it this way, that what is the point A and what is the point B. Now point A is like what exactly you want to do, and point B is like what exactly you want to achieve, right? So now in our case, point A is lead sourcing. We want to do lead sourcing, and point B is like we want to have a verified lead. Now in between that, what are the steps that we need to take? So that we need to define. So that's how you basically create any system before you create it in the n10 or meet.com or any other tools, right? So now again, for that lead sourcing, we need a lead sourcing platform. In our case, which is Apollo, you can choose any particular software like Outscraper or GMP Profile Scraper. If it is a, like local leads, you can choose GMB Scraper extension on anything, right? So basically, in our case, it is Apollo. Second, we need, because Apollo is like paid, we cannot directly scrap or like export leads from Apollo, right? So now we need some scraper for that in place so that we can scrap Apollo leads. Now for that, industry wide, like most of the people are actually using Apify scraper, and we are not different. We are no different in that. We are also going to use Apify scraper. Again, in that you have to see what scraper is good one. Again, I'll show you that as well, which one is the good scraper, and I'll also share the link of that scraper in the description box below as well, so that you can directly go and then try that scraper it yourself, right? So now that is second thing. Now once we scrap the leads, third step is like we need to basically verify those leads. Of course, like from Apollo you can select that, from that scraper alone you can select that you need verified emails, but you cannot rely on that, because I've like seen myself is that where once I relied on Apollo filters, Apollo verified email, and then my campaign was my sorry actually, so my campaign was stuck. I got like 43% bounce rate and my emails were burnt, and then I have to like basically replace those mailboxes with new one. So again, do not make that mistake, and always verify your email on top of what you get from the Apollo, right? So in that case, to verify emails, there are like tons of tools, and you can like use any one of them, but in my opinion, Mails Finder is the best one because it is affordable and it is most accurate tool in the market, because it is our own tool that we have built because we felt this pain of like spending a lot of like thousands of dollars in verifying our emails, like on tools such as like email finder, hunter.io, snow.io, zero bounce, right? So these are like very expensive tools, and if you, let's say if you have 1,000 records, it will anywhere between take like 300 $400 you have to spend on just finding or verifying your emails, right? So then because of that pain, we have actually built our own tool ecosystem, own ecosystem or tool you can say, and then now we are actually using it on a daily basis, right? So now if you really want to use this tool, so basically you have to join our community. This is our community. Once you join this community, we'll basically just DM me, and you will basically get access to our tool. You will be granted access to our tool, and you will get that for completely free. Right now, again, there are like two pricing options for this community. Let's say you can pay lifetime, and this is like only for first 93 people, and the lifetime price is like $249. And believe me, this price is worth it, because in that price point you'll get a tool, you'll get like 13 plus exclusive money making automations, you will get 14 days cool email challenge. You'll also get like monthly step by step roadmap, which is a accountability program where like I'll be handling you on each and every day till 9 days, right? And believe me, if you follow each and every day, if you follow everything that I will mention in those videos, you will get your first client if you are not there yet. But if you already are getting clients, you will scale that very fast. Then you will get access to our in-house tool, which is right now Mails Finder. But in future, in Mails Finder only, we'll be adding a lot of new additional features that will help in your outbound journey. Now you will also get a live weekly calls. Of course, like after 93, after we reach mark of 93 members, we will have a live weekly calls. You will get exclusive go high level training. Of course, right now what I'm doing is that I'm recording that training, and believe me, GHL is one of the most helpful CRM that I've seen in my experience. And from Jan only, you will get the training will be live, and you will get access to that. And also, this is most important, you'll get free 2 months of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. And again, this is also like for first 93 members, because after that we'll not providing this. Like if you are really interested in scaling your outbound or like getting your first client through outbound, join this community right now at a lifetime price, so that you don't need to pay 14 you don't need to pay a monthly fee. Once we reach 93 members, we'll making it monthly, like 49 or $59 a month. So yeah, if you right now watching this video, you're lucky, because then you get a chance to join it for a lifetime price, right? So yeah, if you want to get access to that tool, Mails Finder, you have to join the community. And once we connect each and everything, then we'll get to the point B. So that's how basically you create any sort of a workflow mind map before you actually create it. So that's how I always approach automation. And in my opinion, in my experience, this is one of the most helpful way of doing it, because it actually gives you a lot of clarity on what you need and what you need to do, right? And once you start creating this, it will not take a lot of time of yours. So, now let me show you the actual workflow. So this is the actual workflow, where basically there are three steps: lead sourcing, lead scraping, and email enrichment, which is basically verified leads, right? So again, let me make myself small over here. So again, in this, so what we are actually doing is that we are actually using Apify over here. So now let me open up Apify as well, and then let me show you which particular scraper we are using right now. Yeah. Oh, yeah, net discount. And now in this, you can see there are a lot of factors that you can use to scrap any data on the internet, right? But now, in for this particular video, for this workflow, what we are going to use is that basically we are going to use this particular actor, which name lead finder, which is like Apollo alternative. But again, basically it is actually, so what actually happened in last few or like last couple of months is that Apollo has actually ran after all of these illegal scrappers, and they've actually shut down they've actually updated that mechanism in a way that no one can basically get leads from that URL, right? So earlier what used to happen is that once you go to Apollo, you basically you basically put all the filters in the Apollo database, and then you can basically copy the URL from here, right? And then you can put that URL over here in the scraper, and then boom, you will get all the data. These scrapers are actually scraping data from leads, right? So again, now that does not work. So now what this all of these scraper did is that they actually have stored database in their backend, and then now they're actually providing you Apollo like interface, right, where you can basically put the filters on, and then you can scrap the data. Now, one downside of this is that basically data is not going to be frequently updated, right? So sometimes it is possible that you will basically get outdated data, right? So, but again, there's always a downside of positive things as well. So this also has a downside, but again, on the positive side, you basically get this data at a really cheap cost or cheap price, which if you really, let's say if you want to scrap 1000 2000 3000 leads from Apollo, it will basically cost you like 60 70 $80 a month, right? So again, you can do the same thing with, let's say, like $5 6 every time you scrap these leads. It will only, like, let's say if you scrap 1000 leads, it will only cost you like $1.5. So this is relatively very cheap. Again, you have to pay for Apify subscription, like, which is for $39 plan, starter plan. If you can see, I'm on a starter plan where I have like $39 plan, and after that you can only use this scraper, right? So we are actually using this now. What you need to do is every time you need to scrap any data, just put the filter over here, like let's say job title. You can add job title. There's a drop down as well where you can add seniority level, right? Then there's a location that you want to include. There's a location that you can exclude as well. Email status, of course, like you will select validated over here, but do not rely on that. As I said earlier, you have to use any verifier tool such as email finder or mails finder, right? Then there's a company website if you want to, but again, this is not that important. Again, this is very important. If you already have a defined ICP, you can basically put that filter over here, right? Then you select industry, and this is pretty much like Apollo, where you actually put all of these filters in Apollo earlier, but now you put them in this particular scraper. right? Now once you put all of these filters, go to JSON, and over here basically you have to copy this exact JSON from. You can see this icon, copy icon. You can just click on that and come to come to this particular workflow, and then the first step in this particular workflow is like the form submission, right? So again, in this form submission, you have to basically enter your JSON, right? So let me so yeah. Now, once you entered your JSON in this particular form, then the workflow will start, and it will basically go to this particular Apify run an actor, and this actor will then take that JSON and then start running the actor, right? Over that, you will get the dataset ID. Let me show you where I can get this dataset ID once you run this particular actor. So this is the dataset ID. Now, this is very, very important because this we will be using this ID in the forward node, right? In the upcoming node, right? Which is get dataset item. Now, get dataset item is like basically uh, wait until all of the data is scrapped, and then it will get all the data from that particular actor, right? So over here, that's why dataset ID is very important, because from that dataset ID, we will be getting all of the data that has been scrapped from through that actor, right? So now once you put that dataset ID over here, click on execute step, and we'll get all of this data, right? And there are like 20 lead in this particular list. Now, once you get that, add all of them into a Google Sheet. Again, this is a very, very simple setup, right? So basically you have to add all of these parameters over here so that it actually adds it dynamically for each and every item in the previous node. And once that is added, basically there is a now we will basically verify each and every email that we've got from the Apify scrapper. And again, here we are actually using Mails Finder. This is the API key. Of course, like you cannot use this because I'm going to delete this API key after this video. And over here, you can basically what you can do is that instead of this static value, you can basically put this dynamic value, right? And then once you put that, it basically gives you a result for each and every email with the status valid with the MX record. Like if it is a Google ESP or Outlook ESP, means like what email provided this email is using, right? If it is a Google Outlook or any other one, right? So you'll get that in the MX one. Now, once you save that, once you publish this workflow, and then every time you run this workflow and then add that JSON in that, basically this will run automatically, and then it will give you like list of all the leads that you want to scrap in the Google Sheet only, and you don't need to basically wait. Once this is finished, all the leads will be added into your Google Sheet, and now we are, and all of them are like, of course, verified leads, right? So let me show you that. So if you see, so this is the list, and everything will be added here, and email status and ESP will also be added here. So okay, so now we are going to run this particular campaign, and then we'll see that all the data will be added one by one in the Google Sheet with the email status and the ESP as well. So now let's do that. So click on execute workflow, and then the workflow has started running. So as you can see, basically the workflow has started running. As you can see, this hover like green icon. Now I think we have run into some error. So let's see what will be that error. So columns name were updated. So now we have to click on this refresh icon so that it will also update it in the n8n instance so that it can actually match the column in the actual Google Sheet, right? So now I think the issue resolved. Now let's again click on execute workflow, and then now hopefully workflow will run really, really smoothly, right? So as you can see, data is started like data has started adding. So basically, I think only ESPs are added. So let me see why is that. Oh, I think yeah, we haven't. Okay, so let me. I think it's super fast, right? So I think we have to also add the email status dynamically. We haven't added that. So again, yeah, you might run in some this kind of issues if you're doing it like very fast. But if you can see, we have to add the status over here, which we forgot because we have actually deleted the column from the Google Sheet, and then again we have created those columns. So we have to update that in the n8n as well. So that's the issue. But yeah, Now I think we are all fine. And now if we run this workflow again, everything will be added really, really good and without any errors. So let's see. In my opinion, like this actually verification is too fast. If you can see, it is like very, very fast verification is, and wherever like you see unknown, it will ESP will not be added, right? So that's the by default setting of the mails file, because again, if it is unknown, you are anyways not going to send this email. You're not going to add this into your outbound campaign, right? Again, why we are actually adding ESP over here, because this is very important. Let's say if you are sending it to, let's say if you're sending from Google mailboxes, in that you cannot send from Google to Microsoft, because then your deliverability will be tank on, right? So again, if you are, let's say if you have Google Workspace, you make sure that you only send to Google ESP. If you have Outlook mailboxes, you can send to Outlook as well, but you can also send out from Outlook to Outlook Google, right? But yeah, from Google to Outlook, deliverability is very, very bad. You will most likely end up landing in you will most likely ending up landing in spam. So do not, so that's why ESP is like very, very important. And once you, when you in your outreach tool, when you start a campaign, always make sure that ESP is matching, right? So that's the number one thing for the maximum deliverability. But again, you can test it out. It's up to you in your industry. Let's say if sometimes you will end up in inbox, but yeah, it's always debatable. And in my experience, I've seen that Google to Outlook is has a very, very low deliverability. So yeah, keep that. But yeah, I think we have added all the 20 emails that we have, right? So yeah, this is added, and now I think, as you can see, like the verification is very, very fast, and you basically get all the you will basically scrap the lead, you source the lead, you scrap the lead through Apify, and you actually verify those lead using MailSpot. So that's the entire system that you can basically take, and you can basically use this to save a lot of your time. Plus you can basically make money out of this as well by selling the system to, let's say, recruiters, let's say healthcare firm, and all of that, right? So now as I mentioned about the bonus in the beginning, so let me show you that. So again, this is the bonus. Basically, this is the template where basically you can do everything from the Google Sheet itself. You don't need to look outside. Basically, you can let me show you that. You can find emails. You can verify emails. Of course, you cannot source. You can not scrap leads. For that, you have to use that N10 workflow that I've showed you. But after that, you can pretty much do everything, like find verification email, clean company name, generate email copy, like really, really good copies, and also like the company summary that you will be using for generating email copies. Right now, let me show you that, because I think all of this is running on the APIs. Basically, you need Mails Finder API, you need Firecrawl API, you need Azure. Of course, you can replace Azure with Open AI or Cloud. That's up to you. But yeah, you need all of this API to make it run, right? Okay, so again, you can do all of that using Sheet, because I've like already set up the script for that, and I'll be giving this particular template for you if you join the community today itself. So if you really want to access a particular template, join the community today for the lifetime plan, for the lifetime access, and you will get this template, plus you will get the you will basically get the access of the mails finder, plus all the other bonuses that I've showed you, right? Of course, this workflow you will get it for free for sure. I'll be basically for that, you can just check the description box below, and then if you really want to join this community, if you want to join this community, click the link in the description box below, and then I'll be waiting for you inside the community. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this video helps you and brings you a lot of value on Outbound. If yes, like this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel. But yeah, thank you so much. I'll see you in another video. Till then, bye bye. Take care.